Anna. Welcome back to my channel, Mostly Paper Crafts. Today I'm going to be using adult coloring books to create cards. If you're anything like me, you acquired quite a few adult coloring books over the last 10 years or so. It was all the craze to do adult coloring because it's great for stress relief, makes you feel like a kid, and honestly, yeah, I could see why it caught on. But I have more adult coloring books than I could ever possibly hope to color. And honestly, I love coloring stamped images. So coloring books don't really do it for me anymore. But I can take those awesome pages and turn them into cards. So I'm going to show you the books that I have, kind of some ideas I'm thinking about, and then I'm going to make some stuff. And I hope that this will inspire you to use your coloring books that are collecting dust to make some new cards. I've already cut the pages out that I'm going to use from these, but I still wanted to flip through and show you what's in these coloring books, just in case it might inspire you to look through your own books and find some things that would make good backgrounds. I know I can't be the only one that has a stack of coloring books that are begging to be colored. And even if I colored every day for the rest of my life, I don't think I would be able to color all of the images in these books. So I really don't feel bad about chopping them up and making cards with them. And you shouldn't either. And as much as I do love coloring, my plan is to keep most of it in black and white, maybe do some ink blending, maybe do a little bit of coloring, but in general, I think keeping it simple will help me to reach my goal of actually getting some cards made. So here are some of the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch rectangles that I cut. I'm sure your mind is just spinning with ideas. This would be really fun with some of those sections colored in. And then like this one would be really great just in black and white. So lots and lots and lots of bases here. I certainly won't be able to make cards out of all of these, but I do have some ideas. Besides my goal of using pages from the coloring book, I also wanted to use some things from my stash. So I was looking through and I have these transparency type die cuts that have some neat designs on them. So I was going through these, trying to figure out what I could use. And I also have a whole big box that's full of die cuts. So all of these images are already ready to go. They're already cut out. I have tons of these. Some of them have come from card kits. Some of them I've purchased on their own, and I just have a whole box filled of these baggies with these images. So I'm gonna go through those and see what I can find that'll look nice with the backgrounds I picked out. I doubt that you'll be surprised to hear that I got a little carried away with this project. I'm gonna start with this simple card. This, of course, is from one of the coloring books. Hello is die cut from a die in my stash, and I used Versamark clear ink and some clear embossing powder to give it some shine. This is a Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle frame die around the outside and then matted on a black card base. Next, on an orange card base, I have a black 4 1/4 by 5 inch panel. This panel is from a coloring book, of course. This is a sticker, and I used a metallic marker just to outline it a couple times and give it a little more interest. A pink card base next, another panel from a coloring book page, another stitched rectangle frame from Lawn Fawn, and this time I used a piece of vellum behind that frame, so you can still see that pattern in the background, but it gives it some nice shine there. And this Free Spirit is a transparency die cut with a nice little sentiment there. I really liked the vellum, and this time I used a piece of blue vellum, another Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle frame die, and this is just a die cut that I found in my stash. I thought that was really cute and I liked all the blue together, but I put it on a yellow card base to match the stars. This next card is a custom square size card. We have the coloring book page here, and then these die cut images were from my stash, just begging to be used, and I think this all came together very nicely on a big white card base. Another Lawn Fawn Stitch rectangle frame die. Those work really well when I'm trying to attach another piece of material like vellum, or in this case, a transparency. I've had this transparency forever, at least 10 years, so I'm glad it finally got used. I did use clear accents to put over the sentiment here, just a note to give it some additional shine, makes it match this transparency a little better. And then you can see this coloring book page in the background had those thin lines, and I thought that looked really nice with the lips. And this next card is so fun. So this one I did color with my alcohol markers. My octopus here is actually a punch. I put some tiny little googly eyes on it, put some little details with my micron pen and a white gel pen. This die cut is from Lawn Fawn, and then I stamped a sentiment from Lawn Fawn. So seize the day. I just think it's adorable. I don't usually put googly eyes on things, but I think this turned out pretty cute. Pretty simple idea for this next card. This is a piece of pattern paper. I have the coloring book page. I went back with a micron pen and put a dotted border, and I found this die cut in my stash. Popped it up on some foam squares. It's on a yellow card base. I think that is just adorable. I really like the leaf background with the sentiment here. And a very similar idea, but even simpler. So I have a shiny reddish pink card panel in the back, my coloring book page, and this yay panel was all one piece, and I just found it in my die stash, my die cut stash. This card is oversized, but I needed it to be big because I've had this fancy die from Spellbinders forever and haven't ever found a use for it. And I thought it looked really neat with this pattern in the background. I did go back with a metallic pen and put some dots here. I also went around with an alcohol marker to give it a border. I've got this pretty circle punched copper background for my die cut sentiment in the middle. So this was pre-done, and then I had paper that matched it perfectly. I think this card has some serious impact. It's pretty large. I'll need to make a custom envelope for that one. This would be really fun to color, but I didn't have time, so I just put a strip of green with a heat embossed sentiment, "You're one in a chameleon." This is from Lawn Fawn, and I went back with my craft knife and cut out the hands of the chameleon just to give it a little more dimension there in the front. And then I made a nice big green card base. I wanted to do a little bit of inking on my card, so actually the swirls are alcohol marker and then it's inking in between. I did use a Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die to give this a stitched border. This isn't the frame die I was using on the other cards, but just to give the stitching around the edges, it's on a white card base. I have a vellum circle cut out here, and then this is a sticker with the sentiment. I like that you can see through that. And a little more inking here. I did an ink blended background on a piece of coloring book page, and then I used my Happy Jig from We Are Memory Keepers and some staples to attach my hello sentiment. So that's a piece of wire. I think that's so sweet. I never use that thing, so I'm glad that this got some use. And I knew I actually had to color a full page, so I colored a panel that I'd cut out, and then I chopped it, took out a little section, stretched it out so that I could have a black strip here in the middle. I think that it helps the eye follow the design a little better. The You Make Me Happy was die cut already, but I put it on a white background to mimic these die cuts here. So You Make Me Happy with the toucan, nice bright colors. It's on a custom size white card base. And I really liked this lion. So I actually cut him in half. And for this one, I just colored in the background with an alcohol marker. I colored his eye, and I used some glossy accents to go over his eye just to give it a little more something. I may go back and add a sentiment to this, but I'm not sure. And for this one, I really liked this sticker from my stash, and this is gonna go into my planner. And while it's in my planner, someday maybe I will color it. Who knows? And I have one more card to show you. So this one has several different elements. I used washi tape here to attach this transparency. And then these are separate die cuts from my stash. And then I have that coloring book page as my background. And I thought about attaching this, but I thought it might be fun for the recipient if they want to just peel it up and feel the inside. And it's a top folding card. This is another custom size to match the size of the transparency. I stopped myself at 16 cards, but look how many card fronts I still have for future projects. I like to keep 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch rectangles ready to go for card backgrounds. So these are just gonna go into that stash. I also have these strips left over, so some shorter ones and some longer ones. And I am going to keep these as well because these will work just as well as patterned paper. And I'll keep them with my scrap cardstock. And speaking of scrap cardstock, I took some time to cut down my leftover pieces into usable sizes, including 4 1/4 by 5.5. So all of this is going to go into my A2 size die cut box. I keep this on my counter so that I can get to my background dies really quickly. I find that I use them more often that way. And then these are the 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panels that I keep. So these are just gonna go right in there and they'll be ready for future use. If you missed my last video, I talked about how I store my paper scraps. So these are already cut down into usable sizes. So I'll just put those into the appropriate little trays. And there's more. I have these other panels that are a little bit bigger. I'll keep these with my, actually I don't know where I'm gonna keep these. I'm gonna keep these somewhere where I can still get to them because I think just having seen them recently, I'm likely to think about them in upcoming projects and wanna come back to them. I did create 2 more card bases that I didn't finish, and I really like how this looks so far, but I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do to finish this off. I think this is going to be a really fun congratulations on your new house card. I just need to figure out exactly how I want to do that. And this one has that white stitched rectangle frame, and then this is just blue vellum over the top. I did use a blue marker to highlight around some of the waves, and I think this is going to be a really fun ocean themed card, but again, couldn't think of how I wanted to finish it. So these 2 will go into my box with my other 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch background frame, so they're ready for a future project. I'm going to flip back through these cards one more time as I'm wrapping up this video. I hope that you got some ideas of how to use coloring book pages to create cards of your own. And then hopefully you just saw some other techniques that you could use, whether it's patterned paper or colored cardstock or white cardstock or coloring books, whatever you want. I tried to use a bunch of different things. I worked on these cards in my free time throughout the week. So usually at 5:30 in the morning, before I would get ready for work. That's one of my favorite times to do a little bit of creative crafting. This card really makes me smile. I can't wait to send that one out. A lot of these designs are really simple. A lot of things that could be easily replicated here and used for your own purposes. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I hope you got some inspiration from this video, have some ideas how to use some things from your stash. I'll be back soon with some more card making videos and ideas. Until next time, go make something beautiful.